what part of the other party's brain are you negotiating with? Are you negotiating with their intellect? Are you trying to convince them? Are you trying to teach them? Are you trying to get them to understand what you're talking about? Because if you are, you're failing. And you're frustrated. And you don't bat 1,000 like you could. I know that's a big number. But you can bat 1,000. You just can't violate the principles of how people make decisions. So what I'd like to do is spend an hour just talking with you. Just talk about what you're up against, what you find most challenging, and see if I can't get some things to you that will get you on a journey to discover what a system of negotiation can do for you. What I'll start with is, if you go to campnegotiationinstitute.com, there's a free download book here that I'll give you when we finish. And it's an MP3 player. It's for you. It doesn't have much value other than it might open your thought process. That's all we want to do is try to get you thinking. So that once you start thinking or start discovery, you'll be surprised where you can go and what you can do. Now, we're a coaching organization in the truest sense of the word coach. Not made up. We didn't anoint ourselves coaches. We are coaches. Okay, I've got a credential. I still have it from the state of Ohio. I'm really, truly a coach. I understand what coaching is. I learned from 2 Hall of Fame coaches. Okay, so I mean that in every sense of the word. So, I'm coaching about $8 billion this month globally in negotiations. I coach the whole entire program of one of the biggest IT providers in the world. I coach their chairman, their CEO, all the senior VPs worldwide. So I've got a little bit of an idea of what you're up against with the technical world you live in. So here's the question. What do you find most challenging? What can I start to zoom in on to see if I can create some discovery for you and get you on the journey? Anybody?
Well, one thing is, one client wants to take the direction. They want to tell you about this and they want to tell you about that, and it's getting the right questions, asking the right questions, and kind of reframing things and getting things back on the track that you want it on is sometimes a challenge. They think
Getting them to stay on the track.
Yeah.
So the question is, what kind of track do you now have that you can prepare for? Let me ask this question, see if I can go to this, and I'll be right with you. So, how do you prepare for a negotiation? So now we talk about negotiation, we use that word, we throw it out there. Can somebody give me a definition of the word negotiation? Let's define the word.
A discussion between 2 parties coming to a mutual agreement.
2 parties coming to a mutual agreement. Mutual. I'm going to write the word down, mutual. Does it have to be mutual? You ever made an agreement you weren't happy with?
yes,
Still an agreement.
Still an agreement.
And it still has to be mutual because they have to sign it too. So they may not be winning in the agreement, but they still have to mutually agree to sign the paper.
So okay, let's go to the word, and I'm a big stickler on words. Give me a definition of the word mutual.
Together, common understanding.
Common understanding, mutual. Anybody else? What's mutual mean to you? Happy. That's the word I come up with. I come up with satisfied, comfortable, happy.
Shared.
You ever made shared?
Both parties getting what they want.
Ever make an agreement that you weren't happy?
Sure. So negotiation doesn't imply agreement. Negotiation is the process of getting an agreement, which does not always lead to one. It's the exchange of possible terms.
So negotiation, say that again.
It's an exchange of ideas and terms for the purpose of determining if there can be an agreement.
Okay. Let me tell you what Oxford Dictionary says. This is the best definition I've ever seen. It says the effort to bring about agreements between two or more parties, all parties having the right to veto. Anywhere in the world, what does negotiation mean? The Oxford English Dictionary says it's the effort, a human effort to bring about agreements between two or more parties, with all parties having the right to veto. Stay with me just for a second because I want to get to the path, and I promise I'll come back. How do we prepare for a negotiation?
You need to know what outcome you would like to arrive at.
Okay, so you know what you want. How many of you know what you want from today with me? You're in a big negotiation right now. I'm negotiating for your mind. What I want is for you to reject everything I say or embrace it. So we got to know what we want.
You also have to know what you're willing to accept.
I'm sorry?
You need to know what you want, but you also need to know what you're willing to accept.
Oh, so you sit there and say, I want $1, but I'll take 75 cents.
I want to take, yeah, exactly. Or I want to take less than.
What did you just do? How did you just prepare?
Set boundaries.
You just prepared to compromise.
Yep.
And then when the person says to you, Michael, cut to the chase. What's the real number? What do you say?
$1.
Is that the real number?
A great negotiator.
Yeah. Why did you say 75 cents then?
It's a back and forth. I mean, if you're going to give me something in return, I think compromise is a part of negotiation.
Will I get you to 75 cents if you prepared that way?
Not necessarily.
Never?
No, not necessarily, but not until I never know.
Never?
No, not ever. I think compromise is a part of negotiation.
It's not. It's not in the definition.
You'll have to give up something too. You want me to give up something?
No. You don't have to buy it. You can say, no, I'll leave. Think about what you do to yourself. You sit around and figure out what you're willing to give up. What are you preparing for?
Giving it up.
What?
For giving it up.
Selling for less.
You're preparing to give it up, but what are you really preparing for?
Failure.
Not really failure. You can make a lot of money doing this. You can make a lot of money giving up things. What are you really preparing for? You're preparing for bargaining. Not negotiating, that's collective bargaining. It has a completely different definition. That's the art of give and take. This is the definition of negotiation. Bringing about agreements. Now, where did bargaining come from? Where does bargaining come from?
Establishes value.
Bargaining came from the Railway Labor Act. Required by law that you will bargain in good faith, punishable by imprisonment if you don't. Between organized labor and management. That's the Harvard model. That's taught in every business school in the country. Bargaining. And they call it negotiation. And they call it negotiation, and it's not. So what do you do when you go to the mainland of China? Now remember how are decisions made? Scientifically, how does the brain make a decision? Emotionally. But how do you prepare with compromise when you prepare with compromise, what are you using? Are you impacting their emotion or their intellect to bring about agreement? You get what you want. Sometimes. Maybe. If you're lucky. Right? Because they're going to make their decisions emotionally. And if you don't, you made a point, it was a good one, Michael. You said, you got to give up something too. Because emotionally, if I'm going to get into bargaining, and my price isn't worth my price, and I'm going to bargain it, what have I just done? Devalued it, and how does Michael now see it? There might be more here. So we take the predator in us and pull the predator towards us to attack us. All because of that principle of emotional decision making. Now, stay with me, please stay with me for a moment. That's nice music. So we take that principle, we know that's a foundation principle. And we prepare, but we prepare with compromise, which isn't in the definition. But here's what's really kind of sickening about that. Kind of turns my stomach. Now, I learned this a long time ago, my teeth kicked in. What really does it, what really bothers me the most, is we're breaking another principle with that. We're trying to manage, control a result of an engagement with compromise. Now tell me what you can manage. What can you control in your life?
Information.
What can you really control in your life?
Yourself.
Yourself. Who said that? Randy. Yourself. What? Tell us what. It's great to say ourselves, but what can we really control?
Our actions.
For what?
Our actions and emotions.
Acts. Can we control our emotions? There's a chemical reaction sometimes. Somebody runs through the door with a gun and starts shooting people over here.
Depends on whether you're a trained Navy SEAL or not.
If you don't have a weapon, you're a trained Navy SEAL, you still don't have emotion. In fact, it might even be worse because you don't have a weapon. So what can we control?
Your display
Action, what we do with the hours in the day, usually by habit. Ever notice how you get up in the morning, you do one thing first, second, third? Habit, right? Activity. We can control that with habit. In fact, our parents work hard to make us develop good habits, right? What's the other thing we can manage or control?
What we say.
Ourselves.
We can control our response.
What we say, how we say it, with training and practice, the kind of question we ask, when we master our behavior, and our activity. How many of you really prepare for negotiations before you go into them? Anybody? How many of you really prepare to just wing it? Wing it? Okay. If you prepare incorrectly, you're better off winging it. Believe me. If you prepare against us with compromise, or you're going to try to drive us to compromise, it's going to be really uncomfortable for you for a long time. Because compromise isn't really required in negotiation, but what is vision. Vision. The ability to create vision will drive the emotional decision. Now, if